The Vandals were a tribe of people who invaded Europe in the 4th and 5th century and for no apparent reason destroyed much of what they found there. Sometimes it seems as if the Vandals live again and have invaded the United States of America. On every hand, you see public and private property defaced, destroyed, or mutilated for no reason the normal adult mind can comprehend. I suppose the reason is that the act of destruction gives pleasure to the people who do it. It's as if there were not enough good things in the world to go around, and those missing out take their pleasure by destroying what others enjoy.
The Vandals, an ABC News broadcast with Harry Reasoner and a cast of thousands.
In recent years, it's been popular for critics of our culture to suggest that any change man has made in the way nature had things when he got here is a change for the worse, that we've done nothing to the face of the earth except to make a mess of it. Well, that's not true. The fact is that in sheltering and feeding and amusing ourselves, we've made some alterations to nature that are in all ways for the better. The trouble is that there are 210 million Americans now, and it seems as though more of us know how to take things apart than how to put them together. And then there's a thoughtlessness, a rudeness, a deliberately destructive attitude that seems to prevail. It's making America less good as a place to live by making less attractive both the things man found when he got here and the things he's built since he came. The destructive nature of vandalism is not like a dropped bomb. It's small and not very dramatic, but the evidence of it is everywhere. There are 290 national park sites in the United States, and considering American taxpayers put out $226 million to operate these nature preserves, you would think they'd be more careful in them. 1,300 park rangers are not enough of a police force, even in the woods. Campers are illegal in any but designated campsites in many of the parks, but people don't pay much attention to the rule. You wonder how anyone with sensitivity enough to be attracted to the forest can be so insensitive to its charm as to hack up a living tree to feed his campfire. On every hand, you see trees mutilated or chopped down for no reason at all, except that some idiot was given an axe for Christmas and wanted to use it. Park rangers say the people who go deepest into the woods do the least damage. Somehow it often seems as though it is the loveliest parts that the vandals choose to despoil. Part of our problem in America is obviously our obsession with packaging the product, then packaging the package, then wrapping it all, then putting it in a bag. We have so much to throw away. There's something fundamentally ugly about matter out of its own element. A can of cold beer that can look positively beautiful as you reach for it on an icebox shelf is one of the ultimately unattractive things in an otherwise untouched mountain stream. No one who has ever climbed to where it seems no one could ever have been before, only to find an orange peel, is surprised at anything he may find in the woods. Every once in a while, your faith in mankind is revived. We were documenting this broadcast on a trail in the Pocono Mountains when this young man appeared. He was picking up litter left by others and carrying it down the mountain in a plastic bag. He was not interested in our attention to him. The memorials erected in the parks to honor the heroes of another day are largely ignored by everyone except the vandals. It costs $10,000 a year to repair the damage done by vandals here at Grant's Tomb alone. The stone beak of this eagle guarding the entrance of the National Monument was broken off by some mindless marauder. Money can't repair this. The vandals used the statues as memorials of their own, and the statues stand now not in honor of the dead, but as testimony to the selfish ignorance of some of the living. One of the most expensive things about vandalism is the steps that have to be taken to prevent it. Museums and libraries have added guards and detection systems. The Kennedy Center in Washington was almost vandalized out of business in its first week of operation. Culture lovers took everything that wasn't nailed down. They came back later with a claw hammer to take what was. A total of $1.5 million worth. Such cultural parthenons as Lincoln Center in New York have spent millions protecting themselves. Lincoln Center has an elaborate system with 18 hidden cameras that keep their electronic eyes on every nook and hallway of the complex. Below, the sergeant of the guard watches for troublemakers, petty thieves, and graffiti artists from nearby schools. Lincoln Center is nervous but fairly successful in minimizing vandalism. The unsprayed beauty of the place is a rebuttal to anyone who argues that graffiti is an art of the times. Preventive measures are not always so sophisticated. This cage covers the walkways over a highway that threads through the center of downtown Detroit. 3 years ago, someone threw a bowling ball off the bridge. The ball dropped through the windshield of a passing car and killed the driver. Missiles thrown at or dropped on cars cause an estimated 100 deaths a year in the United States, and injuries that no one counts. Between mismanagement and vandalism, many of the nation's railroads look like rolling junkyards. When a passenger car gets to the end of the line after a day's run, it's a question of whether to turn it around or throw it away. In 1970, 145 Penn Central passengers or crewmen were seriously hurt by objects thrown by vandals at passing trains. We're all paying more for our cars because of the vandals. General Motors has been shipping 3 million cars a year by rail. By 1969, vandalism got so bad on the tracks that they began this new containerized shipping method to protect their cars in transit. Kids had been throwing rocks through Cadillac windshields from one end of the country to the other. When open freight cars stopped in rail yards, the vandals were climbing on to remove all those optional extras that come with every car. The Penn Central has begun a helicopter patrol of its tracks to prevent vandalism in troublesome areas. With helicopters patrolling the tracks, injuries from the missiles thrown by vandals have been reduced by 2/3. Whether a private or public agency sponsors it, you know that the cost of this helicopter ride is added to your railroad ticket, and the vandals ride again.
This is ABC. Pure heroin, street value $23 million. The syndicate wants it. So does the Mod Squad.
There's a rumor in the streets. 4 suitcases, 40 pounds apiece. The only problem is who has the suitcases.
Well, you just opened the wrong door.
With guest stars Ed Asner, Stephanie Powers, Robert Reed, Cesar Romero. The Mod Squad, new day, new time, premiering in 2 weeks on ABC. This is ABC.
There was a time when the only people painting things on rocks were college freshmen who were doing it as some kind of fraternity initiation assignment. The disease spread rapidly, though, and today in many major cities, the graffiti sprayed on almost every flat surface dominates what meets the eye. Most of us are satisfied with relatively modest ways of trying to make posterity aware of our having lived here on Earth. The kids seem to have given up on some of the traditional ways and are seeking instant immortality the easy way, with a spray paint can. Who does all this stuff?
The people, they write their name around so they could be known, and it don't make no kind of sense. They want to be known, they don't have to spray their name around, you know?
What do the numbers mean?
61, 89, 135, 62, 83.
What do they mean?
They mean the streets that they live on.
That's their street address.
Yeah.
So they really, you think they're trying to be famous?
Yeah.
Yeah. You do it?
No, I don't do it a lot.
What do you use? You use spray paint cans?
Who, me?
Well, anyone who does.
Yeah, they use spray paint cans. Or magic markers.
Magic markers?
Or shoe polish.
Or what?
Or shoe polish.
Now, you seem to know. Are you an expert?
Yeah.
You know kids who do it?
Yeah.
Not you, though.
I know a lot.
Why do you think they do it?
Trying to be famous.
To be famous? Do you think it works?
Yes, I think it works. Yeah.
You think it works?
Yes. Me, right?
Do you think there's any way to stop it?
Yes, stop selling spray paint.
Stop selling spray paint. Yeah, but people need that, don't they?
Whoever buys spray paint, they should write their names down.
Whoever buys spray paint, write their names down like they're buying a gun?
Yeah.
Okay. How many of the kids do you suppose do it around this neighborhood? 1 out of 3, 1 out of 2, what?
We have 1 out of 3.
1 out of 3? How many?
Practically the whole projects. I live over there, man. Everybody write their name around.
There's a boy named Lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky 62, boy. He writes his name all over.
Everywhere?
And Joe 45th.
He's a real big shot.
And a boy named Joe 45th. Yeah, he's a big shot.
I think if they stop showing their names in the newspapers, maybe they would stop doing it.
I mean, maybe we even shouldn't be here.
No, like y'all when they spray their name, they want it to be shown on the newspaper. So y'all show it and they get what they want. But if y'all won't show it on the papers no more, they won't do it because they know it ain't gonna get around.
Might be an idea. There's a school of libertarians which contends that graffiti is a popular art form, comparable to the work of prehistoric man in Neolithic caves. Most graffiti, though, is drawn not by young artists bursting to express themselves. It's done as an expression of contempt or defiance, an attempt to disrupt the orderly course of a social system they either don't understand or don't feel they are a part of. If it is art, as its defenders contend, it is art out of place, which is not art at all. Michelangelo didn't paint on the floor of the Sistine Chapel. Tall buildings ring the public parks in big cities, reminding everyone that the park is an artificial wilderness, nature reconstructed to look like nature. If graffiti is offensive, smeared on the sides of buildings, there is something even worse about it in a natural setting. The best thing about nature is not green grass and growing things, but the absence of people. A park in the city attracts large numbers of people. As soon as they come, they make it look like what they came there to get away from. Public service signs erected for the purpose of warning, guiding, or directing have from time to time been a minor source of irritation to most of us. No one likes to be told to keep off grass he had not intended to walk on. The Vandals, though, find these signs an irresistible target. The residue of pleasure in America is garbage. We seem always to make a mess having fun. Our grossest national product is empty beer cans. We mine aluminum here, drill for oil there, and grow corn someplace else. After turning it all into some kind of garbage, we drop it where we used it. We ruin both the ground we took it from and the ground we drop it on. Eventually, we will have taken the earth apart, piece by piece, and put its components back in disarray. Anyone looking for aluminum would have to sift the whole world to find it all. A walk through many big city parks is enough to make you conclude that the society of man is declining. He builds himself tables in public places for a game of the intellect. They are destroyed by what appear to be the superior forces of the enemies of intellect. Anyone looking for a quiet place to sit in many parks is apt to find that the wooden slats of the benches have been broken for fun in summer or burned for warmth in winter. Designing park equipment has become a contest between engineer and vandal. The engineer tries to design the indestructible bench. The vandal tries to find a way to destroy it. So far, the Vandals are leading. Cemeteries are favorite targets. This 150-year-old graveyard was laid waste in 8 hours one night last August. 400 large and small monuments had been tipped over or broken. The replacement cost would run into the hundreds of thousands, although many of them will never be replaced, of course. Cyrus Fowler, beloved husband of Mary Fowler, born 1827, died 1871. Who would pay to have Cyrus Fowler's memorial repaired? Not Mary Fowler. 38 states have passed laws making parents responsible for the vandalous acts of their children. Some judges have sentenced young people to clean up some mess they've made. Vandals aren't caught very often, though, and nothing seems to deter them. It would appear as if the answer is not higher fences around cemeteries, windowless schools, and tougher laws. The answer is in making the Vandals understand that it's their cemetery, their school, their country they're tipping over. Last year in the United States, schools estimated their loss from vandalism at $151,431,000. $43 million of that went to repair broken windows. Washington, D.C. spends more than $250,000 on school windows. New York spends $1 million. The game is to see how many school floors high you can wing a rock heavy enough to break a pane. Older schools are being equipped with expensive protective equipment designed to screen out rocks. The vandals are not always deterred. Or maybe they're throwing the rocks from the inside out now. New schools in many cities are being designed without exterior windows at all. They present a solid facade of brick and nothing for a daydreaming student to stare out at. Last year, $20 million worth of classrooms were deliberately set on fire. In Los Angeles, school insurance rates are up 50% in 5 years because of the frequent incidents of arson. There probably aren't many among us who at one time or another have not pounded on the coin box of a public telephone in anger, trying to get our dime back. The telephone company has made its equipment relatively impervious to this kind of treatment. Knowing their clientele, they expect it. The destruction of telephone coin boxes is something different, though, and it is a very popular way the vandals have of expressing their discontent, not so much with the phone company, but with society in general. Bell Telephone, which owns 90% of all the instruments in the country, spent $12 million repairing the work of the vandals in 1971. Guess whose telephone bill that goes on?
This is ABC.
No telltale marker smell. El Marco won't dry out. The cap seals with an airtight click. El Marco, the new permanent ink marker by Flair. El Marco.
Where's the party of the first part having elected to go? If you need more than words, you need more than a pen. You need flair. Flair writes feeling. Flair writes ideas. Flair writes colors. Flair writes music. Flair writes emotion. Flair even writes pictures. Man does not live by words alone. Man needs flair. In 12 very human colors.
This is ABC.
If 10 million cars flow smoothly off the Detroit production lines every year, there's nothing smooth or systematic about what happens to those 10 million cars a few years later when they reach the end of their own line. It can cost more to fix a car than the car is worth. Sometimes it can cost more just to tow it to a garage than the car is worth. So a lot of them are abandoned after an accident. It isn't long after that that the vandals go to work. A halfway decent set of tires won't last an hour on an abandoned car. We set up a camera on the roof of a house opposite a wounded car on a New York City street and watched what happened over a period of 14 hours. The car was left sometime during the night. We started filming about 10 a.m. The first interested party we saw wanted to check things out. We couldn't tell whether he was interested in the legal issues, like who owns it, or the radio. Maybe he just wanted a good book to read. The license plates go quickly. Maybe the owner himself decided to take them. Once they're gone, the car is legally abandoned. There has never been a toy devised for kids that they like as much as one they improvise themselves. It's a feature never emphasized in new car ads, but abandoned cars provide a lot of city kids with some of their happiest hours. I suppose that might be the answer to the old car problem. For $15 or $20, each of us could give our younger children an abandoned car for Christmas. Of course, there are always a few spoil sports who don't approve of kids having a good time. Some don't care, of course. You get right out of that car and get home. Looks like a perfectly good aerial here. Finally, the old pro arrived, the cool cat who knew something about abandoned cars. Let's see here. Rear end looks okay. The parts of a car are worth more separately than together. A generator could bring $15, a carburetor $20. A set of used tires with a little rubber left might bring $7 or $8 apiece. Don't you wish you could get your car checked this carefully when you bring it into a garage? Of course, what really matters is what's under the hood and underneath everything. A neat mechanic always puts things back the way he found them. The car has been here for something like 18 hours now, but it's still being checked. The dog isn't interested in checking. The kids want to make sure all the easily removable goodies, like the radio, are gone. At midnight, we quit. The Vandals were still at work. The Vandals go after anything left out in the open. Not even something as sturdy as a fire alarm call box is safe. False alarms cost the city of Chicago 25% of its firefighting budget last year. 1 out of every 3 calls in Philadelphia was a false alarm put in by a vandal. Half the time when the firemen do find something burning, it is something that would not have burned if it hadn't been set on fire. Most of the fires are not very serious, but they consume the time of the firemen and frequently take them away from a fire that is serious. Vandalism is often for kicks and excitement. American fathers and mothers have a high regard for aggressiveness, and it must rub off on American kids. The most aggressive is often the most admired. I double dare you to. Some of what is called vandalism, when a parks department lists what it has to spend for fixing or repairing things, can hardly be called malicious destruction. A lot of it is kids doing the sort of thing kids have always done. It might be called harmless, except that a lot of expensive equipment put there for everyone is broken by a few. Everyone knows that half the fun of playing with something is using it in a way it was not intended to be used. These used to be swings for the young children in this area. The chains that hung from the crossbar have been cut down because the older boys and girls use them as weapons of war. Deliberate vandalism, when someone makes a conscious effort to destroy something, apparently just for the hell of it, is harder to understand. It's difficult to get pictures of a vandal in action. We were filming something else when this mindless young man idly tried to tear a tree down. In 1970, a Senate Committee on Juvenile Delinquency found that there had been a 35% increase in incidents of vandalism in the previous 3-year period. One of the unfortunate physical laws governing the universe is the one that says it takes 4 times as long to clean something up as it does to make a mess of it. The vandals assume there will always be someone on hand to pick up, clean up, or repair the damage they have done. It's hard to begin a report like this without having some preconceived notions of what you're going to find. We had some, but a strange thing happened in the course of the filming we did. Nothing seemed to fit precisely our idea of what vandalism was. We kept going back to the dictionary. Kids writing on walls isn't malicious, it's a call for attention. Throwing beer cans in the woods isn't willful anything, it's slovenly. Chopping down trees in a national park is stupidity. Taking parts from a Cadillac in a rail yard is theft. Tipping over tombstones or killing the animals in a children's zoo isn't the work of vandals, it's the work of someone very sick. In spite of our discomfort, we called them all vandals. Basically, it's that those of us who like things the way they are try to keep them that way. Those who are dissatisfied try to destroy them. In ancient Rome, the Vandals won. Here, the battle rages. That's our report on the Vandals.
This has been a presentation of ABC News.
This is ABC,